Console, online. HPG connection, online. Educational module, online. All systems, nominal.
Hello, class, and welcome to On the Origin of Battlemechs Podcast, episode 47, Warhammer Part B. I am your host, Brent Stewart McKee. My co-hosts today are...
I'm Joshua.
And I'm Chandler.
And we are going to pick up right where we left off, and we are going to go with the Warhammer C. Of course, this is the clan retrofit, so it rips out all the standard weapons and replaces them with clan tech. But this one has a little different flavor, because it's got a large pulse laser in both the left and the right arm, and then it's got a ER medium laser, an ER small laser, a machine gun in the left torso, a Streak SRM-6, an ER medium laser, an ER small laser, and a machine gun in the right torso. Of course, it's got 20 single heat sinks, so this guy...
18.
I have 20. I pulled this from the brand new, it was either the Recognition Guide or Tukid pack.
Okay. Yeah, mine, the one I'm looking at is missing tonnage, so it's older.
No, yeah, the Recognition Guide has it as 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's probably what it is.
An interesting note I found is the Recognition Guide has a battle value of 1728, and the Tukid supplement has a battle value of 1746.
Interesting.
How dare they be different?
The original battle value I found off of the first printing was 1668.
So, if you're going to a tournament, don't take a Warhammer C. You're just going to have a bad time.
Talk to the judges beforehand and clear what the point value actually is. It's got a point value of 35 while we're talking about battle values.
37. That's what it says on Master Unit List.
Did it get an update? It must have got an update with the new heat sinks.
Yeah. So yet again, you're going to have a bad time.
If you're going to run the C, make sure you're using the Recognition Guide 7.1 and you're paying the Master Unit List points for it.
Yeah, the extra 2 heat sinks go a long way in helping this, like, really long way, like, significant amount of way.
A actionable difference.
Yes, at least one Kurita difference.
Yeah.
It's a clan mech, or it's a clan refit, so like all of them, it's a toasty boy.
Mm-hmm.
But for a Warhammer 6R driver, one of those classic 30-25 players, this isn't going to be a huge change in your playstyle because those clan large pulse lasers do the same amount of damage, same amount of heat, and have slightly better range than the PPCs you're used to.
And no minimum range.
No minimum range, yeah. But balancing your heat load is going to be pretty much what you're used to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The only difference being is you're not going to want to use anything other than your large pulse lasers unless your arms get blown. Then you're going to start breaking into your other guns.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how much damage you have to dish, how fast, because those clan ER mediums are basically intersphere large lasers.
True.
Yeah.
Which is just ridiculous. So if you have to really kill something this turn, take your 22 points of heat and like it.
Like it, yeah. You could theoretically survive. You might want to dump your ammo before you get to that.
Well, you're not going to go 22 over.
You know, yeah. You're going to go 12 over. No, you'll go 2 over?
If you include your ER medium lasers, you'll be 12 over if you run.
Yeah. Is that cut off for ammo explosions or no? I don't remember.
So no, the ammo explosions start at 19. Shutdown starts at 14. So you would be getting a -2 to your movement points and a +1 to your fire.
So almost no downsides if you don't need to go anywhere fast.
Yeah. So this guy was seen in 3050, and then we come to the Warhammer C2 in 3052. This guy again is a C, so it just rips out all the standard intersphere tech, replaces it with clan, but just the weapons. But this guy also does the heat sinks, so it's got double heat sinks, which is really nice to see. This guy's got a ER PPC in each arm, a medium pulse laser, ER small laser, and a small pulse laser in the left torso, Streak SRM-6, medium pulse laser, ER small laser, and small pulse laser in the right torso. Much more in line with the traditional plan for the Cs of just copying the template, whole hog.
Yeah, it's too bad it's listed as experimental on Master Unit List.
Definitely feel like this one's much more of a clan second line designed unit that they used to use a lot of, like back in the day, like built off like the 7A before they really got into Omnimechs. But after they developed all the new clan tech.
Yeah, that very narrow window.
Yeah, because you got the standard inner sphere double heat sinks.
Yeah, which take up 3 slots.
Yeah, so I really feel like this is some weird hodgepodge from that era, or maybe a hodgepodge from like Dark Ages, where you're, just taking what you can produce and throwing them into a mech and shoving it out the door.
Well, it sounds like a clan refit of a 7A or a 7 or a 6 Royal.
So it's got the doubles that are inner sphere. They just didn't touch it, as opposed to those being clan. So we're learning these are new designs. They came out very recently. There was in fact a bit of a scramble to get everything orchestrated on the list correctly.
Yeah, it really depends on what era this mech was originally designed in, the C2, for what mech it's based off of.
Or what models
it's a
retrofit
like early clan. If it's early clan, it's Royal model refit probably. But if it's like after the invasion, it's probably not based off a Royal, just because of how rare those were at the time.
Yeah, well, though they would have, or they should have Royals and 7As in Brian caches that they took with them, which they could then turn into the C2s.
Well, this guy's got a battle value of 2157 and a point value of 43. We then come to a weird one. It's the Warhammer C3, and according to Master Unit List, it was first seen in 2874, which doesn't make sense, because why would the 3 come before the 1 and the 2?
Not to mention, I don't think any of this tech existed then. Did it? Were the clans around then? I always forget.
What time you said? 2874?
Yeah, 2874.
So the Amaris coup is around 2750. So 130 years later, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The clans exist at this point. And it's full clan tech. So the nomenclature's weird, but only if we assume that the date listed as for the C and the C2 were production dates, not when the Inner Sphere knew about them dates, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a little murky is what we're saying.
Yeah, because if the C and the C2 were old refit schematics that the clans brushed the dust off of when they got to the Inner Sphere, they were logical progressions of technology as the clans developed clan tech, and they said, hey, it's been 300 years, let's brush these designs off to refit this Isorla we're getting during the invasion. Then it would make sense why the C is a weird hybrid upgrade, and the C2 is a straight upgrade of either a Royal or a 7A, and then the C3 is the first pure clan tech, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a bit hand-wavy, but I've heard worse things be accepted as canon.
Yeah. I mean, the Warhammer C variants straddle that line between the different kinds of C-vits. Like, there's the ones like the C3, which are literally, yes, we have Inner Sphere mech, but it's all clan tech now because we wanted a Warhammer, but we wanted a clan.
Yeah.
Or you have the C, which is, we just needed something to make sure, Joe Schmo number 5005 didn't try to kill us in our sleep.
So this guy's got a movement profile of 4/6. It's got a pod on the right leg. It's got an ER PPC in both the right and left arm. It's got a Streak 6, a ER medium laser, and a medium pulse laser in the left torso, and it has the same in the right torso. The head has an ECM suite, and the left torso has a targeting computer. It's got 17 double heat sinks, endo steel, an XL engine, and yeah, this is pretty neat.
It has an A-pod on one leg only?
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah, it screams we had extra tonnage, but we had nothing to do with it easily, so we just put an A-pod on. Because with that targeting computer, it's going to be really hard to fit another energy or ballistic weapon on, because then you might be messing with all your tonnages then.
When were elementals introduced? Because that would be another fun kind of...
That would be a B-pod. A-pods are for...
Well, no, I'm thinking... I'm not talking elemental battle armor. I'm talking the gene mod. Because...
I think it was right about the same time.
This guy's got a battle value of 2772 and a point value of 49. Definitely a jump there.
Yeah. A-pods were developed by Clan Ghost Bear in 2850. So that's the earliest this mech could exist.
Which is 24 years after its supposed introduction date.
This is the one problem with some of the recognition guides is they don't give dates for some models' introduction. And so I don't know if Master Unit List has a way of getting, prying dates out of CGL.
Mm-hmm.
But
with a crowbar.
They might have just went with this. Yeah, they might have just went with that date.
Yeah.
Does it really matter? Or they probably had some reason to do it.
Yeah.
But with the APODs,
It's definitely a timestamp.
Yeah.
So next we have the 7CS, seen in 3052. This guy's got a movement profile of 464, so get some jump jets in there. It's got a ER PPC in the right and left arm, 2 medium lasers in the left torso, and 2 medium lasers and 3 streak SRM2s in the right torso. It has 17 double heat sinks, an XL engine, and it's got a good amount of armor. This is a very nice machine.
CS being Comstar, I assume.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because this is sourced from the Tukiad.
So this would be a Clan Buster mech.
Yep.
Yes.
The reason they went with 3 Streak SRM2s is because the Inner Sphere hasn't recovered Streak 6 technology yet.
Mm-hmm. I mean, luckily the SRM systems don't penalize you too heavily for breaking them into smaller sections, unlike LRMs.
Yeah, and then you could even say the 3 Streak SRM2s could theoretically be better against stuff like battle armor.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's not what really this mech was designed for. It was designed to hold the line and be able to get around on Tukiad, which it can't.
Yep.
So, pat it on the head, tell it good job, point it at some clanners.
Say jump.
A little sad it doesn't have the Vox 300 XL like most of the other Clan Busters have, but I will overlook it because it's a good mech.
There you go. So this guy's got a battle value of 1751 and a point value of 37. We then come to the 7M-DC, so command console, seen in 3052. This guy has a ER PPC in each arm, a medium laser in the left and right torso, and an SRM-6. Goes back to the traditional movement profile of 4-6, so no jump jets, and adds the command console to the head, of course.
How's its armor?
No, sorry, it has a machine gun and a SRM-6 in the right torso. Oops, misread that. Its armor is contemporary with its early brothers. It is not particularly thick, but it could be worse.
10 tons?
I don't have a way to calculate that off the record sheet. Chandler, can you confirm?
I do not have it on Megamech, so...
It doesn't... I don't have Recognition Guide 7, I don't think. It should just say in there.
Yeah, so 17 points, left torso, right torso, 7M. Let me pull up the 7M.
Oh, so it's not like a TRO entry where it just lists the armor and stuff?
Scroll. I don't think that one had it because it's just a refit of the 7M. They usually only give you the readout for 2 of them. For this one only gave it for the 8R and the 10K new versions.
Yeah, and it gave us the record sheets for all of the Warhammers, effectively.
I'm waiting till the recognition guides get printed as one large physical TRO.
Oh, that'll be nice.
It does not drop armor off the 7M.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1402 and a point value of 35. We then travel forward in time 2 years to 3054 for the 7K. Back on over to Kurita. This guy's got the 4-6 movement profile. It's got 18 double heat sinks. It's got a ER PPC in each arm, a medium laser in the left torso, a small pulse laser in the left torso, a medium laser in the right torso, a small pulse laser in the right torso, and 2 Streak SRM2s in the right torso, as well as a tag in the head.
A lot of these Recognition Guide 7 Warhammer 7s kind of reek of Inner Sphere desperation. They're all...
Well, the 7K is an older mech.
But they all
I think.
are basically 3050s weapons slapped onto 3025 chassis.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of ER PPCs and 18 single heat sinks.
No, this guy has doubles.
Oh, it does have doubles?
Yes. It also has endo steel.
Okay.
So I don't think this is a refit. I think this is a new model. A line they upgraded as quickly as possible to get something on the field to face the clans, absolutely, but it's not inspired. It's, what do we got?
Yeah. Okay. That sounds a lot better than what you read out initially. or what I heard you read out initially.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1651 and a point value of 39. We're then going to jump forward in time a good chunk of time to 3066 with the Warhammer 8D. This guy also has the new Project Phoenix art, because of course the Warhammer is one of the unseen, and I'm not super big on this art. It's interesting. It's not bad, but it doesn't feel like a Warhammer, and the arms just look a little cumbersome.
Yeah,
they look a little big.
And they hang down really low. Like, I have this mini, or I had it. I traded it away to somebody because I couldn't stand it. The arms on the mini actually hang down even lower than in the art.
Oh, that must look awful.
Yeah, its guns are by its knees, basically. I generally like TRO Phoenix artwork.
Most of it has a lot of stuff in there that is worthwhile. Like, I don't feel many of the designs are objectively bad.
Yeah, the rifleman, it looks kind of funky when compared to a standard rifleman, but it's still a rifleman and it still looks cool. Shadowhawk looks really cool out of there. Phoenix Hawk's is cool out of there.
The Wolverines look great.
Yep, but the Warhammer just, ugh.
It almost looks industrial to me.
Yeah, I see it. I will say my favorite part of it is the little wingy bits on the end of the barrels. I like those.
The SRM-6 just going straight out is a little weird. It almost looks like you want to have some mounting platform for jump infantry on there or something.
That's a helipad.
Yeah. We have your resupply VTOL inbound.
They just got little drones taking everyone takeout.
It's a great spot to host your parties, your post-victory parties.
Just give it about 20 minutes to cool down.
Just dunk it in a river.
Yeah. So this guy's got a movement profile of 4/6. It's got a C3 slave in the head. It's got a ER medium laser, an ER small laser, a streak 6 in the right torso, a ER medium laser and an ER small laser in the left torso, and then an ER PPC in each arm. It's also got 17 double heat sinks and endo steel and case to protect that SRM ammo.
What I find really interesting about it is it's an 8D, but it doesn't appear to be a Davian design. It's listed as an Intersphere General, Kellhounds, Magistracy of Canopus, Mercenary, Taurian Concordat, and Wolf's Dragoons in Civil War when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And despite its artwork, this is one of the Warhammers that I would run in a C3 350 Lance.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the C3 makes this a very powerful machine. It does have a little more armor than some of its brothers, but still wanting to keep that distance to use those ER PPCs, great plan. And in a pinch, if you need to close with something to finish it right quick and you're willing to sit in the sauna for a turn or two, you can also hand out targeting data to your Lance. So that's great. That'll drop something real quick.
Yeah, very solid. And then, of course, has the standard engine to keep it alive even longer on the field.
Mm-hmm. So, even if that ammo goes and it didn't have case, you'd be okay. But, gotta love that case.
Yep.
Case is love, case is life.
We are going to throw now to our correspondent on location, returning Derek Warcrimes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever wanted to just slaughter your enemies, see them driven before you, and conquer them in the name of House Davian and the Federated Sons? Well, I have a mech for you. The Warhammer 8D. 70 tons of Davian awesome. Ready to slaughter your enemies. Ready to oppress the periphery. Ready to conquer the Turians. Ready to take things from the Capellans because we can. Have you ever wanted to just see those clanners driven before you? Well, this does that too. Have you ever wanted to kill Steiners because they ruined our federated Commonwealth by listening to that Steiner? Well, I have a mech for you. Sorry, I didn't mean to get so excited, but nonetheless, it is exciting to see your enemies crushed with the Warhammer 8D, 2 ER PPCs and a slave C3 just to slaughter, to murder, to conquer, to commit war crimes. Join the Davian Heavy Guards today! The Davian Heavy Guards are not responsible for anything that was put into this commercial. The Ares Convention still applies, and StarCorp is also not liable for any war crimes committed. Thank you. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.
You know what? That was a great point you made there, Derek.
Thank you for that, Derek. Back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
we have the 8D's battle value of 1744 and a point value of 43. We then come to the 4L, going back to Liao and going back in number as well. In 3067, this guy has a traditional movement profile of 4-6. It's got a medium pulse laser in the head. It's got a Guardian ECM suite in the center torso. It's got a Streak SRM6 in the right torso, a medium pulse laser in the left torso, and it's got a ER PPC and medium pulse laser in each arm. It has 16 double heat sinks, an XL engine, and it also has stealth armor.
Did you get the medium pulse in the head?
Yes, I did.
He did.
This guy is a little weird. You know, it's got 2 weapon systems in the arm. That threw me through a loop for a second, because that's the first time we've seen it, and this is pretty deep into the Warhammer history.
For me, it's really interesting. I think there'd be a cool bit of Battletech archaeology here, because the first production design that the game does, that's talked about in the lore, is a Warhammer 6, and this is a Warhammer 4. So it makes me wonder if this layout with a main gun and a secondary gun in each arm was an earlier rejected prototype that House Liao resurrected.
That would be quite interesting. At the very least, it's a good bit of headcanon.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a bad idea to put an extra pulse laser in those arms just in case stuff gets around your sides, because then you get another weapon to put on them. Like if someone's standing right behind you now, instead of just getting one ERPPC on them, now you can get an ERPPC and a medium pulse laser.
Oh, absolutely.
So, you know, give and take.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1743 and a point value of 41. We then go to the 9D, produced in the same year, and it has a movement profile of 583. It's got a ER medium laser in the right and left torso. It's got a targeting computer in the left torso, and then it's got an ER PPC in each arm. It has 18 double heat sinks and a XL engine. And he also has endo steel. So this guy definitely is going to want to stick at range, because the 12 and 23 ranges are nice and long. No reason to stay close. Those jump jets, definitely not for movement, more for getting over something, getting around something. This is neat.
Yeah, definitely more of a utility choice with the jumps than the, jumping 5.
It's a cavalry Warhammer, and that targeting computer really lets it work in fire support for a fast cavalry company or lance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just got to watch out for that XL engine.
Yeah.
So the tail end of the Civil War, right before the Jihad, clans have just been defeated in the Great Refusal. This feels like a attempt to emulate clan heavies with that 5-8 movement profile, which is so common in clan omnis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see it. I mean, it kind of reminds me of a Thor, but not as awesome, because, clan tech just kind of gets you the extra step.
I would say it's more awesome than Thor, because Thors have 1 PPC, Awesomes have 3, and this guy has 2.
True.
So on the PPC rating scale.
Give me a rating from Ice Ferret to awesome.
This guy's got a battle value of 2152 and a point value of 43. And then our last mech of the episode, the Warhammer 9S, goes back to the 4-6 movement profile. It's got a ER PPC in each arm, a Streak SRM6 in the right torso, and 2 ER medium lasers in the center torso. It's got 20 double heat sinks, a light engine. It has case to protect that ammo. Yeah. So this is a neat ride. I like it. I like the Streak 6.
You could say it's the case is there just in case.
Oh.
Oh.
I mean, the 2 ER medium lasers have that 12 range, so you're probably going to be able to fire them while sticking out at range with your ER PPCs if something tries to close. You're definitely synced up enough so that you are not going to cook anytime soon unless you are really pressed. I think this is a very good, well-balanced, possibly introductory machine for a new player.
I have to say, I don't understand how Alpha Strike treats overheat, because your heat load with those 2 ER mediums and those 2 ER PPCs is the exact same as your your heat sinking capability.
Mm-hmm.
The streak SRM6 puts you 4 over your load, but it's a streak, so if it doesn't fire, or if it won't hit, it won't fire.
Yeah.
And then you have walking heat. I've noticed there's a lot of things where walking heat doesn't seem to affect or doesn't seem to cause you to have overheat capability.
Uh-huh.
So I don't understand why this has an overheat of 1.
Maybe it was just too good otherwise.
Just too good.
It's BattleTech. There's some sort of formula. So I don't understand how that formula causes this guy, which he only overheats if he shoots his streak, and it's a streak. But yeah, otherwise I think this is a really solid anti-mech mech.
Yeah, that's about right. That is what the 9S is. It's a solid anti-mech mech.
Yeah.
He said that there it is, folks. That's what it is.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1653 and a point value of 38. Next we come to pilot profiles. Our first pilot of the evening is General Michael Maisel, commander of Maisel's Militia Mercenary Unit. He is reported to pilot a Warhammer with the grace of a jackhammer. One cannot fault him for his resolve, though, as during the Battle of Point Mountain, after his Warhammer had lost both its legs, he commandeered a grappling hook from an infantry unit and scaled up his second-in-command's catapult to help direct the battle.
Good on him.
Yeah, that's commitment.
Yeah. Sir, what are you going to do? I'm going to scale up that catapult. But sir, that's dangerous. So?
Sir, it's one of ours.
You going to stop me? That's the point. All right, next up we have adepts, Epsilon 5 adepts, Taiwo and Kenhide Okafor, who are twin brothers who joined the Comm Guards to serve together. Their coordination with each other has led Comstar to honor their desire to deploy together, and they were both assigned new Warhammers in the 6th Division for the Battle of Tukid. They were successful in several ambushes at Devil's Bath, until a new commanding officer denied Taiwo's request to be allowed to jump out ahead of his brother. Jumping out together, the brothers both destroyed a crossbow and damaged several other Omni-Mechs from the first Viper Guards before their own Warhammers were cored out. Luckily enough for them, they both survived and were reassigned. Hopefully together. Good on them. Kick those Viper butts. Go team. For Blake.
In Blake's name.
Next up, we have Captain Leopold Vagel. Leopold was a member of the 1st Drakon and defended the capital planet from the 4th Wolf Guard. He alone from his unit was able to close to a range and actually engage the clans, but the Timberwolf he dueled was too much for him. After that, he spent 2 years in a POW camp until being liberated by a guerrilla faction. With the Treaty of Tukid, he became disillusioned and bounced from mercenary unit to mercenary unit, until eventually joining the Wolf's Dragoons and being assigned a new Warhammer.
A new Warhammer. Shiny, chrome, and new.
Witness him.
Has that new mech smell?
Yeah, don't worry.
That
One
new
or two
chrome smell.
battles will get that sweat, and that new mech smell will be gone. I actually recall one of the books, there was a pilot who was going on Operation Serpent, and she was assigned a new mech, and she's like, no, this is weird. It smells clean. This is weird.
Just sleep in it for a little bit. You'll be okay. All right. Next up, we have Adept Epsilon 4 Marcia Mikado. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not, knowing me. This adept was part of the 388th Division, and she holds the unofficial record among that division for a very unlikely occurrence. As part of the line facing the 12th Falcon regulars, she ended up firing one PPC shot after another, as a Warhammer would, but surprisingly, each shot found the cockpit of a J-Falcon mech. Unfortunately, these being Inner Sphere ERPPCs, some of these mechs did survive these shots, and her luck ended when her Warhammer's leg was ruined. And her luck ran out even more as she was captured by the Falcons. However, she definitely had a bit of fire in her as she demanded to be accepted as a warrior, which demanding that of the clans is... I'm kind of surprised she wasn't killed.
That's a power move is what that is.
Yeah.
It's a power move, but I'm kind of surprised they didn't just shoot her. They did offer her the opportunity to become a warrior if she proved that her shots were skill and not luck. However, when her shot missed her trial opponent, she was then shuffled off to the laborer caste. Hopefully she ended up getting a mech again and maybe, proved that the shot that she missed was not bad skill, but just bad luck.
Mm-hmm. And our final pilot for today is Mech Warrior Reveg. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He was the son of a House Kuritan mech warrior who eventually joined him on Solaris 7 after spending some time with a mercenary unit. and his father helped him to prepare for the arena. Reveg would fight under the name Grey Star and would be an important part of the Black Star Stable's resurgence on Solaris 7. His dreams of being champion were within reach in 3066, but unfortunately the Word of Blake had different plans for Solaris 7 and its arena champions.
So our final pilot for this episode is Adept Epsilon 4, John Christopher. Christopher is a second-generation Comm Guards mech warrior who recently graduated from the Sandhurst Military Academy and was assigned to lead a Level 2 in the 282nd Division of the Commons. His first battle came against the Wolf Spiders of Khan Natasha Kerensky.
Good first
Let me say
pull.
that again. His first battle came against the Wolf Spiders of Khan Natasha Kerensky. I don't know if that's like short end of the stick or like there's just no stick. Like
The hammer got dropped.
yeah, the hammer was dropped. The division was ordered to push back the wolves, and Christopher personally destroyed 2 of their mechs before his level 2 was wiped out. He was then granted the Star of Honor. Does not say posthumously. I
Posthumously.
think I'm pronouncing that right. Posthumously. So hopefully he survived the ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't say either way. So, headcanon it as you will.
And for our data dive today, we are going to look at the history of House Kurita and the Draconis Combine. But for that, I am going to throw over to Chandler.
Yes, so today we're doing part 2 of our Kurita history overview. Last episode, we ended with the Alliance of Galadon slowly expanding and being brought under the rule of Shiro Kurita and his brother Urizen. So with Shiro Kurita's tour through the region, he ended up getting a lot of different petty kingdoms and planets to sign treaties with him. However, when he did this, he did use kind of false information. And so when a dispute broke out between Dirion and nearby Altair, the leader from Dirion promised a swift action response and called on his distant but trusted ally of Shiro Kurita, only to discover that the Altairians also had that exact same distant but trusted ally. Within a few months of that, both of them learned the treachery, and slowly all of the other planets in the area also learned of the machinations that Shiro had used to bring them under his sway. To some of these planets, this was of course an outrage, which I completely understand. I mean, what do you mean you lied to me to get me on your side? But a number of others decided to simply honor the pacts and accept the Alliance of Galadon as the official ruling body, and in effect, he had bought himself a few months' time while only making a couple enemies. So to Shiro, this was a worthy trade. Looking outwards, resistance to Kurita authority was greatest on the worlds of Benjamin, Telos IV, and Asgard. The leaders of these 3 worlds were indignant, to say the least, and felt that they had been manipulated and betrayed, which I don't know where they got this information from. I think they need to go talk to the Kuritas about this, and do not bring any guards, because I'm sure you will be fine.
They have a long track record that's totally trustworthy.
And of course, instead of taking their aggressions out on each other, as they had been accustomed to in the past, they decided to become hostile towards Shiro Kurita for no reason at all, and he is the most trustworthy. And they sent numerous communications expressing their resentment in explicit detail. What they mean by explicit detail, I do not know, but I'm really hoping it involves lots of asterisks in place of letters. And maybe some pictures of whatever sign those planets use, whether it's a middle finger or 2 fingers up or some combination thereof.
The international symbol of bugger off.
Yes. Shortly after, this led to the famous Council of One summit meeting in September of 2311. Shiro Kurita cordially invited every known lord in the northeast quadrant to attend, and of course, he ended up with thousands of leaders, dignitaries, representatives, and you name it, they were there. And looking back at how he had gotten all the attention before, I'm kind of surprised all these people showed up, but maybe they figured they could make something work out of all of this mess.
He also does have a precedent of if you don't show up, bad things will happen as well.
If you don't show up to my party, you'll show up to the pearly gates.
And of course, while this meeting was happening, Urizen Kurita ordered 2 companies of his best troops to surround the palace. So, Pearly Gates is a little bit closer than they thought. And of course, a vote was taken on Shiro's measure, his measure of cooperation and betterment of all, which coming from him seems a bit hypocritical. But all of those in favor returned home safely, and all of those opposed were sent home to their next of kin. So, Kurita.
The land of Bullshito.
And shortly, bullshit. And shortly after, the fleet and army of the Alliance of Galadon invaded Benjamin, Telos IV, and Asgard. While none of these planets mustered any substantial armies, they were all devoted to their freedom and refused to submit peacefully. Casualties were enormous on both sides, as the defenders adopted guerrilla tactics, and the attackers, the Cretans, used every known contemporary weapon except for CBRs, which are chemical, biological, and radioactive warheads.
Radiological.
So the glove came off, yes. Or it says radioactive on here, but same difference really probably to them.
Layman, yes. Technically, no.
It's been how many years? It's, let's see, 2311. It's been 300 years, roughly. So, like, they probably just slightly changed somewhere, and then everyone's like, yeah, it's radioactive, right? Right? Yeah. Yeah. And, of course, in the end, Benjamin fell in October, Telos fell in April, and Asgard in August of 2312. After this invasion, some worlds use this as a rallying cry to rise up in arms against the Cretans. For others, it was a painful lesson of what they did not want to happen to them, which I can respect, because when the gloves come off and every weapon other than CBRs is used, that's a bad time.
Yep.
Some even sided with Shiro and joined Urizen's army because of their success in military conquest. After 2317, more and more planetary leaders had sworn oaths of allegiance to Shiro Kurita, and all was going to plan. And the only limits to his growth outward were the Rift, which had very few habitable worlds. So, glory to the Combine, definitely. They are going places.
The Rift being a stellar graphical, I think that'd be right. A stellar graphic feature that has a very large patch of uninhabitable worlds or otherwise dead stars.
Mm-hmm. A no man's land that kind of buffers the edge of the inner sphere.
Yeah, I mean, you could jump through it, but you don't have anywhere to get new supplies, and there's only so much water you can take with you.
Mm-hmm. Somebody needs to set up a way station or something.
Yeah, like a waypoint, way station. Just get your water here. Just a giant neon sign in space. So during the growth of the Draconis Combine, the Terran hegemony has formed in the remains of the Terran Alliance, as Brent has been talking about. And the Draconis Combine came to the realization that this is another buffer to their expansion, as Shiro Kurita had originally wanted to expand into a number of worlds that the hegemony had ended up laying claim to and had signed treaties with. And in 2320, in reaction to this additional barrier placed on his expansion, he decided to do a wise but unusually conservative decision, and instead of doing a major thrust into a neighboring empire,
kinky
phrasing, he decided to patch the holes in his borders. And by that, I mean take over all the little fiefdoms and planets he had leapfrogged over in the original land grab of the Draconis Combine, or what would become the Draconis Combine.
So just really consolidating his power.
Yes, consolidating power and essentially giving himself time to decide where to move next. And individual worlds went through the process gradually, where they would isolate, subjugate, and then consolidate. And this would include their leaders being persuaded, in air quotes, and I'm doing air quotes right now, persuaded to join the Combine. However, this can only last so long, and in 2330, Shiro Kurita decided to move against one of his neighbors, the Principality of Rasselhog. So even though the campaign against Rasselhog would go poorly, and I will get into that in a second, Shiro Kurita would see other areas of his dynasty expand to include more than 60 major worlds, and the approximate borders of this area were from near Terra to the Draconis Rift, and from the edge of what is, at this point, before the invasion, the Principality of Rasselhog, to the border of the Federated Suns. So this is quite the area of space he's gotten. He's got pretty much the northeast corner of the inner sphere to all to his machinations. And by 2348, the Draconis Combine was perhaps the second most powerful interstellar power of the 10 existing states, with only the Terran hegemony above them. And on the note of the Terran hegemony, after their formation, Shiro had never really recognized their authority. However, after the death of James McKenna in 2340 and the secession of Michael Cameron, Shiro was willing to make a limited move. He ended up signing a limited trade pact with the Terran hegemony, stating that his hope that Cameron would be satisfied and seek no more. And essentially, it did. Trade would flourish to an extent between the hegemony and the Combine and would benefit both. However, in secret, Shiro Kurita would, of course, reaffirm the idea that his dynasty would rule over all space, which sounds very megalomaniac.
He and the Terran hegemony had that in common, at least, right?
Oh my god, they're BFFs.
I think if you seek to rule millions or billions of people across many light years, it takes this fair amount of megalomania to be that kind of person.
That is fair.
Back to the Principality of Rasselhog. So, in 2330, the Draconis Combine does indeed invade the Principality of Rasselhog. It is of note, to be sure, that if he had attacked the Tamar Pact instead of the Principality of Rasselhog, it is very possible that he could have smothered the coming Lyran Commonwealth in the crib, and Hausteiner would have never risen to power. And that is a very interesting what-if to play with, because that would have given the Draconis Combine very free reign over the northern inner sphere, or northern in relative space, because there is north in space, obviously. But during the first 3 years of the campaign that ended up happening against the Principality of Rasselhog, Urizen, Shiro's brother, encountered only token resistance, and a few months in, he even sent for his sons Victor and Isaac, who were also warriors in the Kurita tradition, which I assumed involves katanas, and Bullshido, and making sure people think that you're totally their friend while you're not their enemy's friend. And the Combine would adopt a leapfrog technique, where Kuritans would seize planets in seemingly erratic sequence and keep the Rasselhogian defense off guard, as they could not anticipate where the Kuritans would strike next. This would lead to moderately large Combine garrisons and enormous weapon caches stationed on advanced bases as Urizen and his forces seized worlds and continued to penetrate deep into the Principality. Phrasing. And by late 2333, they had actually bypassed the capital of the Principality of Rasselhog and had seized New Bergen in its place. And this surprised the Rasselhogians, who were certain that Urizen Kurita would strike the capital. And looking back, Urizen should have. In January of 2334, Victor and Isaac Kurita made up a small part of the Draconis Combine occupation on New Bergen. These troops were preparing for action against the planet Outpost, but were enjoying some R&R, being troops not on the front lines. They were taking advantage of their time not being shot at. However, during the state of lessened attention, a powerful Rasselhogian force dropped onto the world, and combined with a prearranged uprising of civilians, they wiped out the Kuritan force in an unprecedented massacre. To the last man, in fact. Huge stocks of armored ground vehicles, personal weapons, artillery, munitions, equipment, and even a handful of parked dropships were captured and quickly distributed amongst Rasselhogian forces. A note,
Go team.
Yeah, go team, 1. 2, the original House Kurita handbook says jump ships were parked, which I have to assume they meant drop ships, because jump ships don't park.
No, I mean, they might have also seized some jump ships at the jump point, but if they did, that was way more than go team. That was a stunning victory.
Yeah.
When was this again?
2334.
I may have an answer for you.
I like answers.
The traditional jump ship, drop ship pairing did not exist early on in the Battletech setting. They used basically jump ship style jump drives rather than the compact ones later on. But they also built all of their jump ships to be like warships where they could move around in system. So it's technically feasible. This might be early enough to where they had these kind of hybrid jump ships that could actually move around in system. And maybe they had some really small ones that could land on the planet. Maybe.
This makes sense.
I think that's a stretch, but it's possible.
I could see it.
Either that or it's just a typo in a really old book.
Yeah.
That couldn't
It's very
possibly
possible.
be it.
No, definitely. So, this seizure of equipment, combined with the Rasselhogians' resourcefulness and sense of economy and determination and sense of Kurita, this would in fact prolong the fighting for another 2 full decades. And on a note of Urizen, the loss of his 2 sons at New Bergen nearly drove him mad. Even though he was coordinating battle plans in other locations, it did not take long for him to hear of the debacle, and it is said he almost turned purple upon receiving the news, which, knowing of his heart condition, is very feasible.
Also not a good sign. Maybe go see the doc.
No, yeah. And of course he should have, because he never saw his revenge fulfilled. And even though he did continue leading forces for the next 2 years, his health continued to worsen. And in 2336, he died of congestive heart failure. So definitely should have seen the Doctor, 1, and 2 should have definitely not turned purple.
Interesting. So some notes here that were just dug up say that the early jump ships were in fact drop shuttles as well. So it wasn't a typo, it was a weird hodgepodge of uncodified technology yet.
Yeah, primitive jump ships with transit drives.
Yeah, it's kind of like the concept of tanks from World War I to World War II. Like, you don't have tanks that you would think of in World War II, like you have like a heavy tank, a light tank, a medium tank. You just have tank. And so that's very similar, I think, to what these jump ships are acting like. You don't have jump ships and warships and drop ships. You have ship.
But still, an impressive feat.
Yes. After Urzen's death, Shiro's son, Tenno, personally took command of the Combined forces in Rasahog. And even though he was no general, Tenno managed tenuous control until Urzen's son, Adam, replaced him in 2342. This, of course, freed Tenno to return to his training for the position of coordinator, which he would eventually take over upon his father's death. Adam Kurita would then hold the position of warlord of Rasahog until 2385. Thanks to the New Bergen raid, guerrilla fighting continued in the Principality of Rasahog for another 3 decades. And in fact, the Kuritans would pull a mission accomplished, and in 2367, Tenno finally declared the Rasahog menace vanquished and withdrew most of the armed units present. But in actuality, the Principality remained an officially neutral country and was independent until 2510, almost a century and a half later. So don't really think this was, on a scale of 1 to 10 as invasions go, I want to say this is like a 4 on the usefulness scale. Like, you did get yourself an enemy to fight, pit yourself against, but you didn't really get anything other than a bunch of dead people.
Which I suppose is a good thing if you're trying to raise a zombie army.
Yes, if you're zombie Hitler raising a zombie army, there you go. Here's your hour. So Tenno Kurita would end up taking on the mantle of coordinator of the Draconis Combine in 2348 with the death of Shiro Kurita, his father. Even though he was a skilled organizer and administrator, which are both skills I would think would be very good for such a position, he ended up being very mild-mannered and was no match for his father in statesmanship or military strategy. So luckily he's got Adam Kurita, and he spent the first 2/3 of his reign promoting industrial development to eventually produce weapons and munitions, because of course this is the Inner Sphere, forging closer diplomatic relations with the Terran hegemony, and organizing the Combine into a workable administrative government, which for any new interstellar empire I think is a very good thing to go through early on.
Yeah, figuring that out is better in a time of peace than in a time of war.
Definitely. This would end up dividing the Combine into military districts and prefects, which, even though the borders have changed, the system is still in use to this day in Combine space. Tenno knew the Combine's best chances for growth laid in its sheer size, and by size I mean the amount of people they could throw at a problem. And to encourage an expanding population, he awarded merit citations and rewards to mothers of large families. So, very Soviet.
I see nothing going wrong with that system at all.
Nothing at all.
And of course, to go with the large families, he introduced a mandatory indoctrination training for citizens of all ages, beginning as young as 4 or 5 years of age. And his sole motive in all of this was to boost the number of Kurita-loyal colonists on thinly populated worlds. This, of course, worked, and families with 10 or 15 children became very common.
Now, I know you said that conscription was slavery, but at least the Terran hegemony waited till you were an adult.
Yeah. 4-year-olds can hold guns, right?
They can, but they shouldn't.
Can they? Yes. Should they? No. The greatest crisis during Tenno Kurita's reign occurred near the end of his reign, of all things, when a terrorist raid took place on Rasahog in December of 2375. This consisted of an unknown number of attackers who evaded the guards and attacked the Draconis Combine RMD housing complex. Vladimir Kurita, Rasahog military district governor, and almost every member of his family, as well as Tenno's own sister Omi, who ended up just visiting during the raid, were killed. And the body of Vladimir's 18-year-old daughter, Oma, was not found.
Rough.
Luckily for Vladimir, his oldest son, Jason, was on New Samarkand, where he was attending military school, and so he escaped dying to rogue guerrilla attack. And that's guerrilla with a U, not with an O, so this isn't very large apes attack.
This isn't Planet of the Apes.
No.
No King Kong and Luthien?
Tenno Kurita found such terrorism revolting, and as the coordinator, he was responsible for the well-being of his family, and so his sister's untimely death was a disgrace and a loss of honor on him and his family. Tenno contemplated seppuku, or ritual suicide, and a decision his son wholeheartedly supported, family life. And when Omi's body arrived on the capital of New Samarkand in March of 2376, Tenno immediately carried out his intentions, which resulted in Nihogi Kurita becoming the third coordinator of the Draconis Combine. The new coordinator, Nihogi Kurita, was the only son of Tenno Kurita, and that is where we're going to end for the day, with the death of Tenno Kurita by seppuku and the stepping in of the third coordinator of the Combine, Nihogi Kurita, who totally will not do anything bad, and nothing bad could ever happen ever to the Kurita family. Ever. Ever.
Only greener pastures from here on out, right?
Definitely. There's no age of war coming up. None of that. No Star League. No secession war.
I have a bridge to sell
None
you.
of that. Can I burn it? Is that allowed?
Our sources for today are Sarna, Battletech Battlemech Manual, Master Unit List, TRO 3039, Record Sheet 3039, TRO 3075, Record Sheets 3075, Unabridged Age of War, Spotlight on Thermopolice, Historical Operation Klondike, Record Sheets Operation Klondike, Turning Point Mallory's World, Record Sheets 3085 Project Phoenix, Record Sheets 3085 On the Cutting Edge, Record Sheets New Tech New Upgrades, Recognition Guide Volume 7, and Battle of Tukid and Supplemental.
I used House Kurita, the Draconis Combine, a very lovely book with very good pictures that you should pick up because they are glorious.
The art is actually really nice in that one. It has some of the terrible 80s art, but a lot of it is done in a very nice stylization.
Yes.
We are supported by our Patreons at patreon.com/on the Origin of Battlemechs. Our social media on Twitter is at Origin of Mechs. We also have a dedicated channel on the Everything Battletech Discord. Feel free to stop by and say hi. If you have any questions, requests for topics, or wish to contact us, our email is ontheoriginofbattlemechs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, I encourage you to let your friends know about us and to leave a review. Special thanks to my friend Laura for the intro and outro.
Peace out, Mech Warriors.
Stay safe out there.
Module complete. System standby. Would you like to load the next module?
I really need to get better at reading this.